He was laughing, loud enough that I looked up from the sink, and I stood there, hands still wet, thinking, I don't remember the last time he laughed like that with me. He was right there, and I have never felt more alone in my life. It was a Tuesday. Nothing special about it. Dinner was already on rice, the dal he likes, the one with the tomatoes cooked down until they almost disappear. Sarah was at the table doing homework, pencil tapping, erasing, tapping again. I was at the counter cutting onions and I wasn't crying. I want to be clear about that. The fan was on and the window was open and it was just the onions. The house smelled like cumin and dish soap and the specific end-of-day tiredness that lives in kitchens. He wasn't home yet. I checked the time. 6:48. Set the spoon down. Picked it up again. There was a magnet on the fridge, one of those cheap ones from a trip we took maybe 6 years ago, a city name I can still read from across the room. I don't know why I noticed it that evening. I just did. He came in at 7. Shoes off at the door, he's good about that. Bag down. Smells good, he said. I said thank you. He washed his hands at the kitchen sink, right beside me, and I moved slightly to give him room, and he moved slightly, and for about 4 seconds, we were just two people standing at a sink. Then Sarah called from the table, Baba, can you help me with this? And he dried his hands and went. I heard him explaining something to her. Patient voice, the kind that has time in it. I stirred the dal. His phone buzzed on the counter where he'd left it. Screen lit up. A name I recognized, a friend from work. I didn't look at the message. I turned the heat down, served the rice, called them both. And somewhere between setting his plate down and sitting in my own chair, I realized I hadn't actually spoken a full sentence to him yet. Not a real one. Dinner was fine. Sarah talked about school. He asked her questions. Good questions. What did the teacher say? What do you think? Why do you think that? I watched him listening to her. Really listening. And I thought, he's a good father. He is. I refilled his water without thinking. Old habit. He said thanks without looking up. Also old habit. And then something happened that I almost missed. Sarah said something small, a joke about her teacher, and he laughed. Not a polite laugh. A real one. The kind that comes from somewhere. I looked at him when he laughed. And then I looked at my plate. And I thought not dramatically, not in a spiral, just quietly, the way you notice a door is slightly open. When did I stop being someone who could make him laugh like that? I didn't answer it. I just held it, set it somewhere inside me and kept eating. He moved to the living room. I cleared the table, scraped the plates, ran the water. From the kitchen, I could hear him on the phone. Not a work call, the tone was different. Relaxed, easy, that low, friendly voice he has when he's comfortable. Laughing again at something. I scrubbed the pan. The water was too hot, and I turned it down. I thought about a dinner we went to last month, friends of ours. A big table, everyone talking at once. He was on that night. Funny, quick, leaning in. I sat across from him and watched him and thought, there he is. Like I was watching someone I used to know move through a room. On the drive home, he said that was fun, and I said yeah, and he turned on the radio, and I watched the streetlights, and I didn't say the thing I was thinking. I never said it. The pan was clean. I kept scrubbing anyway. I dried my hands, stood at the counter, and something shifted not dramatically, just quietly, the way understanding sometimes arrives when you're not looking for it. This wasn't about tonight. It wasn't about the phone call, or the dinner last month, or the laugh I heard from the other room. It was about something I had been counting. Every time I said something and he made a sound instead of a word, every time I dressed up and he didn't notice, every time I reached across the space between us and came back empty, I had been keeping a list, not on paper, just in the body, the way the body keeps things when you don't know where else to put them. And standing at that counter, I thought, how long have I been carrying this without calling it anything? I made tea, 2 cups. Old habit, I always make. too. I carried his to the living room. He was off the phone by then, sitting with the TV on low. He looked up when I came in. "Thank you," he said. And then Sarah appeared in the doorway in her pajamas, hair unbrushed, socks mismatched, holding her book. She looked at him and said, "Baba, will you read to me?" And his whole face opened, the way it used to open for me. He said, "Of course, come here." And she climbed onto the sofa beside him, and he put his arm around her, and she tucked herself under it, and he started reading, and his voice went soft and warm, and I stood in the doorway, holding my own cup of tea, and I didn't say anything. I just stood there until I couldn't anymore. Then I turned around, went back to the kitchen, set my cup on the counter, and stood very still. I wasn't jealous of my daughter. I want to say that clearly. I wasn't. But standing in that kitchen, I started naming things, the way you name things when you've been pretending they don't exist. The conversations I stopped starting because his answers had gotten shorter. The things I noticed: a good sunset, something funny, a memory that I kept to myself because I already knew he wouldn't feel it the same way. The reaching, the pulling back, the deciding it was easier not to. The version of me that used to walk into a room and want him to see her, and the version of me standing at the counter, who had stopped wanting it because wanting it and not getting it was worse than not wanting it at all. I set those things down, one by one, didn't do anything with them, just set them down. And then, the harder thing, the thing I didn't want to look at. At some point, I stopped showing him. I stopped saying the real answer when he asked how I was. I stopped reaching across when I wanted to be reached for. I stopped laughing at his jokes the way I used to, not because they weren't funny, but because something in me had gone careful, guarded, and I had told myself that was his fault. But standing there, I wasn't sure anymore. I think we both stopped. I think we both decided, separately, quietly, without ever saying so, that it was safer to stay on our own side. I didn't rush to fix it. I just stood there. Let that be true without doing anything about it yet. He put Sarah to bed. I heard him from the kitchen, her door, his footsteps, the hall light going off. He came in. "You okay?" he said. I looked at him, really looked, and I said, not rehearsed, not planned, just honest, "I miss you." He went still. "I'm right here," he said. "I know," I said. He looked at me then, the way he used to look, like he was trying to find something. We stood there for a moment in the kitchen, the faucet still dripping slightly, the fridge humming, the magnet on the door from the trip 6 years ago, and neither of us said anything else. But something loosened, not fixed, not even close to fixed. Just, I said it. After all this time, I finally said it. If you know this feeling, the loneliness that lives inside a life that looks fine from the outside, I'm not going to tell you what to do with it. I'm just going to tell you that I know it too, that you are not imagining it. That missing someone who is right there is one of the quietest kinds of grief there is. This is the weight she carries, and tonight, it's mine.